we're on the water. I mean, look how beautiful the high Sierras are. We're at Rock Creek Lake. We got the Shaman, we got E-Surge, and we got Zach. So I'm gonna do a little circle, give you a panoramic of what this lake is about. Just drop dead gorgeous. Right, I mean, 6-hour drive, completely worth it, right?
Hey, what's going on everyone? So typically I'll start my videos off with me yapping away on top of Google Earth, but the scenery here is just too stunning not to start off with. Okay, now that you have been properly wowed, let's go on to the gory details. This trip centered around the Eastern Sierras, which is around here, and it's about a 300-mile drive from Los Angeles.
Hey boys and girls, road trip on our way to the Eastern Sierras. Sorry about the wind noise, but when you use the T-bone, the Boondocks T-bone, you have to leave the windows cracked a little bit just in case you get some exhaust fumes in here. Okay, here we go. I'll ask y'all a question and I want you to be honest with me. Does this kayak make my ass look big? So this is what a Pro Angler 14 looks like in the back of a small SUV, and the system that I'm using is the Boondocks T-bone system. So if you're going to use the Boondocks T-bone system like I do, you want to kind of point the nose of the kayak toward the passenger seat, assuming you don't have a passenger. In the event that you get rear-ended, this side of the car is going to take the brunt of the impact. And also, I like to bungee down, or actually strap down the nose of the kayak to the bottom of the frame seat. So just in case something happens back there, the kayak isn't going to go sliding out.
It's Whitney Portal. So this is a street that you climb up to get to Whitney. The campground that we stayed at is called Tuff Campground, and it's a very pretty campground at around 7,000 feet of elevation with a creek next door. And as with any pretty campground, you gotta book it like 6 months out. Now there is no shortage of really pretty lakes in the Eastern Sierras, but for the sake of brevity, we're gonna focus in on one named Rock Creek Lake, which is here. As to the fishing strategies, I'll let you know that many of the Eastern Sierra lakes share similar properties. Typically, you're going to have roadside access to some portions of the lake, like here. You're going to have an inlet where the water flows into the lake, and you're going to have an outlet where the water flows out of the lake. But let me be completely real. If your intent is to get out there and catch fish, one factor probably overrides every other factor, and that is the DF&G fish plant schedule. So here I'm at their site. Now you might have to scroll up or down to find the area that you're interested in, and they will give you the week of the plant, not a specific date, but a week. And they will not tell you exactly how many pounds of fish that they're going to stock, but this is probably the best place to start. So after you get past the planting schedule, you can then go about dissecting a lake. So first off, you want to get away from people. So if you have a choice between fishing near roadside access or fishing someplace that does not have roadside access, you generally want to get away from people. It's like that with fresh water, it's like that with salt water. And then from there you look for two things. Number one is water movement, and number two is structure. Now, again, I'm not an expert, but I don't think trout are quite as structure oriented as bass. So between the two, I would say water movement is more important. So the two areas where you have moving water is the inlet, where the water comes in, and the outlet, the water goes out. Between the two, I would probably choose the inlet because that's typically where food gets washed in. So let me zoom in here on the inlet. Okay, so typically it's going to be some kind of a creek that feeds the lake. So my guess is an area like this offers a planter trout several elements that they like. Number one is I think it simulates the raceways, which are the cement tanks where they grow up. Number two, there's moving water, so that means food washing down. And number three, it does offer some overhanging vegetation which affords them cover from predators, whether it be bald eagles or us fishermen. And by the way, on this lake there was a bald eagle. Anyways, that's the general game plan. Number one, get away from people. Number two, look for moving water, typically an inlet. And number three, the further up you go an inlet, and you may not be able to access it with a kayak, you may have to park it and even hike in or whatever. So the deeper in you go and the thicker the brush, the more fish I think you're going to find. From here, I'll devote the rest of the video to actual fishing clips and footage, and I hope you enjoy.
Okay, so all of them seem to be down deep, so I'm going to troll a flasher. It's a 7-ounce crocodile, followed by a deep diving crankbait. Let's see what happens.
With this method, I'm trying to troll deep, and this lake was over 100 feet deep in some parts. So I'm not after the planters, which all tend to kind of like congregate and hang out together, because that's how they grew up. I'm trying to target like solitary or 2-3 fish that are marking my fish finder way down deep. Now I should let you know that going after big fish, whether it be ocean or freshwater, is a low percentage play. It's kind of like trying to hit a home run in baseball. I mean, when it happens, it is spectacular, but for the most part, you don't see all the strikeouts and the many hours of sheer boredom. And because of my adult ADD, that experiment lasted all of like 10 minutes.
Alright, I'm gonna cave in and go to bait. 1-ounce torpedo. This is a dropper loop rig with a power bait mouse tail. Let's see.
Now this is going to be a vertical approach. It's not a very heavy weight, it's like 1 ounce. So the plan is to mark the fish, and then once I mark them, I do a U-turn or a 360, and then I drop down on them vertically.
Yeah, so here they are. They're, again, midday, so they're hanging out around 30 feet. So I think we're going to have to jig for them vertically.
So let me offer you my interpretation of this sonar shot. Off to the right, you have a collection of fish, not real big, but bigger than planters, and they're suspended at around 30 feet of water because it's midday. Off to the left, you have a bigger solitary fish against a steep incline, and I think that represents man's eternal struggle against God. But that's just my interpretation. You might just see a butterfly, who knows? So a couple of things here. First of all, I'm not sure that the drop shot rig is the best rig for trout, and if someone out there knows a better rig for going after trout, please chime in. And then secondly, again, as I stated, hunting these solitary or these bigger fish that hang out in small groups is a tough gig. I mean, they get big because they're smarter, and they're not easy to catch. And so the fish that you're about to see come up is not the fish that was marking the sonar. This is a fish that just more or less ran into the rig and got foul hooked. Okay, so at this point my ADD is in overdrive.
So when the going gets tough, you have to resort to live bait. Okay, so got some live bait. Whoa, what is this? This is honey badger bait.
Now look at the shark that begins circling me. I've heard these land-going sharks can sense beer with their lateral lines from 2 miles away.
Alright, I'm gonna try a few topwater casts here. Thomas Buoyant, the gold and, well, predominantly gold with some specks. So moderately slow retrieve. Right? If you retrieve it too quickly, it'll just spin. You need to retrieve it so that it wobbles.
Now you should be able to feel the wobble through your rod tip. If you have the right speed and it's wobbling, the rod tip should pulsate. I think I like topwater casting more than the other methods because it keeps you engaged and it's really fun, the anticipation, etc. Here I hook into a decent fish, and then I do what I do best, which is farm it. Just call me the sod buster. Here I've got the shaman at 12 o'clock. He's a Native American. His great-great-great-grandfather was a famous medicine man for the Lakota tribe, and I think he went by the handle of Talking Bull. And apparently he's a pretty good farmer too, because he's about to join me behind the plow.
There we go. Don't lose this one, shaman. It might be the only one. Damn it, you!
Okay, man, shaman's on fire.
Fortunately for us, the shaman figures it out and starts putting fish on the boat.
Don't let him get away. Nice.
At this point we're doing okay picking off a few fish, but then E-Surge gets some local intel and decides to lead us up the inlet creek.
Okay, let's go on an adventure. We're gonna follow the shaman and Surge. I'm not sure how this is gonna work, because if that's really shallow water, then I've got the rudder and the Mirage drive to think about.
Now here I'm really conflicted. Of course I want to join the shaman and E-Surge on their adventure, but taking an aircraft carrier into skinny water is not smart. A pro angler is a little bit out of its element in a small creek. But then I thought to myself, WWHD, what would a honey badger do? Because honey badgers don't give a because at this point, a honey badger is going to go SEAL Team 6 and go deep behind enemy lines to deliver the best possible footage for his 400 subs.
Look at this. How cool is this? I'm still okay, like 9 feet of water, so. He's got a fish on. How awesome is this? Don't lose him. Friggin' sweet. Get him! Attaboy! Get him! Get him in the boat! Don't dangle our dinner! Nice!
Did he just dig him?
No, he said there's a right there. I can't see him.
Not. Oh my gosh, he's huge. This is a big boy.
Get that sucker!
Now, according to E-Surge, there was an absolute monster in there. It was a U-boat. Unfortunately, we couldn't catch him, but all in all, we did really well. So the final tally was the shaman with 5 fish, he limited out, E-Surge with 2, and the honey badger with a big fat 0.
Okay, so the way I like to clean trout,
Are you videotaping?
the quick and dirty way, is to take a sharp knife underneath their, what do you call it, their chin, and just cut that part right there, just like that, okay? And then you go in through their vent. Okay, make sure the knife is sharp, because if the knife is dull, it's actually more dangerous. So this is a sharp knife. And then what you do is, you don't cut all the way to the throat. This one's missing a peck, but you go right around there. So you're basically leaving about 1 inch uncut. And then what you do is, you take your thumb, insert in here, and then just pull apart. And then all the guts should come with it, okay? From there, the only thing that's left is the bloodline. Here, take your thumbnail and just run it through. like so, and then rinse, and you're done. Pretty much it. You can tell this is a planter trout because if you have a native or one that's overwintered, the meat will be pink. So whenever you see like this beige meat, that's planter.
So at this point, all we gotta do is cook up the fish. Now y'all know the honey badger doesn't do culinary stuff, but what he does do well is bring good people together for the synergy.
Getting it going. Now, which of these items do not belong? Those are delicious.
Some store-bought salsa.
This is one of Juan's specialty, fireside nachos. So, 2 kinds of cheeses so far. And what kind of cheese is that?
This is Gruyere.
Gruyere.
Too much, I just want to melt the cheese, Nancy.
So you guys went to bed as the sun came up or close to it?
I was...
Rock stars.
Rick and I hit it about 4.
4:30.
4:30.
I think you guys were about 4:30. I was probably up.
That's not late.
5:30.
Yes. No. Well,
Yeah.
getting there.
Nice.
Oil caught. That's what that sound was.
Trout torch. The chips have a great flavor that are burnt a little bit.
Okay, you're gonna have to take my word for it, but the food was excellent. We ate like kings. What a fantastic trip. We caught some fish, had some fun. Even the people that didn't fish took the kayaks out and took in the beauty that is the Eastern Sierras. Okay, that about wraps it up. As always, thank you for dropping by. Get out there, have fun, be safe, and we will see you on our next adventure. Bye for now.